The new assignment. The alien medic named Relia stood at the edge of the landing bay, her 4 fingers curled around her small medical case. The human space station loomed large in front of her, cold and silver, spinning slowly in the emptiness of space. Relia had never worked with humans before. Her people, the Ilari, had joined the Interspecies Union only 5 cycles ago. And now she was the first Ilari medic ever assigned to a human post. It was an honor, but also a test. She had to be careful. One mistake could ruin the alliance. "Welcome aboard," said a human officer, nodding without much emotion. "You're the alien doc, right?" Relia blinked. "I am Medic Relia." "Yes." "Follow me. There's already a case waiting for you." A case? She had not even seen the station yet. She followed him down the narrow corridors. Human ships were strange. Sharp corners, metal walls, bright lights. Everything felt harsh. The smell of chemicals filled the air. Back home, her hospitals were soft and silent. They entered the medbay. It was full of blinking lights and human devices. A few doctors looked up, surprised. One nurse even whispered, "Is that an alien?" Relia ignored it. She was used to stares. "This is your patient," the officer said, pointing to a sealed chamber. Inside was a human male, unconscious. His chest rose and fell slowly. But something was wrong. His left side was swollen. It wasn't a normal swelling. It looked alive. Relia stepped closer, scanning the body with her portable reader. The device buzzed strangely. "Your scanner doesn't work here," said a tall human doctor behind her. He wore a red badge. "Our tools already checked. No signs of poison, virus, or trauma. But that thing is growing." Relia looked again. The swelling pulsed, just once, like a heartbeat. "What did he say before falling unconscious?" she asked. The doctor hesitated. He was part of an away team. Explored a planet. Said he touched something glowing. A plant, maybe. Then his side started to swell. 2 hours later, he collapsed. Relia nodded slowly. "May I touch the swelling?" The doctor's face changed. "I wouldn't, if I were you." Last nurse who touched it, her glove melted. "She's still recovering." Relia's eyes narrowed. "You didn't include that in the report." "We didn't know what to write," the doctor muttered. "It doesn't make sense." Relia placed her case on the counter and pulled out a small glowing sphere. Ilari tech, far more advanced than human machines. She activated it silently. The sphere hovered above the patient, scanning. Suddenly, the swelling reacted. It moved. Not just pulsed. It shifted, as if something inside had noticed the scan. The human's body trembled. Then he spoke, but not in English. The room froze. Relia leaned closer, trying to hear. The words were soft, whispered, but clear. And they weren't human. They were in her language. "Do not touch me," the voice said. "I am not ready." Relia stepped back, heart pounding. He just spoke Ilari. The red-badged doctor stared at her. "What?" He said not to touch him. "In my native tongue." The others looked at each other, unsure. The swelling pulsed again. Small lights danced under the skin, like tiny stars trapped inside. Relia turned to the doctor. "You need to seal this room. Now." "Why?" he asked. "Because that is not a normal wound," she said softly. "And whatever it is, it knows who I am." The forbidden scan for the next few hours. Relia couldn't think of anything else. Even as she walked through the human station, her thoughts stayed in the medbay, with the swelling, the strange voice, and the human who spoke her language. She returned to her quarters. The room was cold, small, and square, just like the rest of the station. But Relia didn't sit down. She paced slowly, hands behind her back, her head full of questions. How did the human speak Ilari? How did he know her language? No human had ever learned Ilari before. And more importantly, what did "I am not ready" mean? She opened her medical case again. In the corner was a small, forbidden device, an Ilari deep scanner, illegal to use without council permission. It could see through bone, energy, even barriers. She stared at it. No, she whispered to herself. I must not use it. But the patient's voice echoed in her mind. Do not touch me. I am not ready. Why did it sound like a warning? Finally, she made a decision. The humans didn't trust her anyway, and if she waited for permission, it might be too late. That night, she returned to the medbay alone. The halls were silent. The lights dimmed. Only a few guards were awake, and none noticed her as she slipped into the medical wing. The patient was still there, breathing slowly, the swelling on his side now larger than before, almost like it was forming a shape. Her heart beat faster. Relia raised the deep scanner. A soft blue light lit the room as the sphere floated into place above the body. Its beams danced across the skin, reading what no human tool could. Suddenly, the swelling moved. No, it split open. Relia froze in shock. Inside the swelling was not flesh. It was something else. A soft, glowing cocoon. Translucent, pulsing with its own light. And inside that cocoon, Relia's breath caught in her throat. There was an eye. Not human, not Ilari. Something else, something ancient. The eye blinked once, directly at her. She stepped back, nearly dropping the scanner. The cocoon began to close again, sealing itself like skin knitting shut. The scanner buzzed, confused. Relia grabbed the readings and turned it off. The patient's body shook. He opened his mouth. Again, not with human words. This time, he sang a tone. Long, low, and deep. The medbay lights flickered. A nearby computer sparked. Relia stared in horror. Then the patient's eyes opened. But they were glowing now. One green, one blue. Both unhuman. You should not have seen me, the voice said. Soft, but inside her head. I am still becoming. Relia's knees weakened. She leaned against the table. What are you? She whispered. Not yet complete, the voice replied. And if the others touch me, they will die. The patient went still. Unconscious again. The swelling looked normal again, as if nothing had happened. Relia backed out of the room, heartbeat racing. When she stepped into the hallway, the red-badged human doctor was standing there, arms crossed, face unreadable. What did you just do? He asked coldly. She said nothing. He stepped closer. Don't lie. The cameras are off. The energy in the room surged. Your tech glowed. What did you find? Relia looked up at him, eyes steady. That man is no longer just a human, she said. The doctor's eyes narrowed. If we don't act soon, Relia said, this station could become something else, something we don't understand. He stepped closer. You're hiding something. So are you, Relia said calmly. You didn't tell me about the missing crew member from the same mission, the one who never came back. The doctor didn't answer. Relia's voice turned quiet. Was he also swelling? The hidden code. Relia sat alone in the observation room. The station lights dim around her. The readings from her forbidden scan floated in front of her on a glowing pad. Waveforms, signals, patterns, all strange, all impossible. What she saw in the patient's swelling was not just biological. It was alive, but not in the way any creature should be. And now her scanner was picking up something even stranger. There was a message inside the scan. A code. Not written, not spoken, hidden in pulses. A pattern of lights inside the swelling. Fast, then slow, then faster again. Like a heartbeat trying to say something. Relia stared at it for hours, running it through every translator she had. None of them worked, until she remembered something from her training. Long ago, her people believed that light itself could carry language. She replayed the scan again, this time in slow motion. The cocoon inside the swelling blinked softly, 3 short flashes, then 2 long, then 1 slow fade. Short, short, short. Long, long. Slow fade. A memory hit her. That was the old code used in ancient Illyri space beacons, a forgotten pattern, used only in emergencies. The meaning was clear now. Help me. Not safe. Changing. Relia's chest tightened. The cocoon wasn't just a growth. It was a prison. Someone, or something, was trapped inside it, trying to warn her. And it was changing. A soft knock pulled her out of her thoughts. She turned. The red-badged doctor stood at the door again, holding a black data drive. "You were right," he said. Relia blinked. "About what?" He walked in and placed the drive on the table. "We lied. The away team didn't just find glowing plants. They found a structure. Not human. Not built." "A ship?" she asked. "No. It was breathing." Relia stared at him. "One crew member," he continued, touched the wall. "Just like this patient." Within hours, he began showing signs. The swelling, the lights, the speech. "Where is he?" she asked slowly. "He's gone," the doctor said, voice low. "Vanished before we could stop it." "Vanished?" Relia whispered. "Just blinked out, in front of our eyes, like he was absorbed." Relia looked at the swelling data again. "What you saw," the doctor said, "we saw too. The cocoon, the eye. But only Illyri scanners pick it up. That's why we needed you." Relia frowned. "You brought me here on purpose." He nodded. "Yes. We hoped you could help. Or at least, stop it." "What if I don't want to stop it?" she asked. The doctor stared at her. "Then you'll watch it take over this station." They were interrupted by a loud alarm. "Medical containment breach," the voice said. "Level 3. Relia stood up fast. "It's him," she said. "The patient." They rushed into the hallway. Red lights flashed above. As they reached the medbay doors, they saw the chaos inside. The patient was standing now, awake. His swelling had grown, now stretching across his entire side. It pulsed like a jellyfish underwater. Lines of glowing veins snaked across his chest. But the strangest part, he wasn't scared. He was calm. He turned and looked directly at Relia. "You heard me," he said, speaking in Illyri again. "You're the only one who listened." Relia's voice trembled. "What are you becoming?" "I don't know," he said. "But it's not me anymore." His eyes began to glow brighter. The cocoon inside him was now visible through his skin. The red-badged doctor pulled out a tranquilizer gun. "Don't," Relia shouted. "Too late." He fired. The dart hit the patient's arm, and the entire room shook. The lights exploded. The glass walls cracked. The swelling tore open, and something inside began to crawl out. Not a creature. Not a parasite. A shape made of pure light and energy, bending reality around it. Relia stepped back, speechless. "We were too late," she whispered. The council's threat. Alarms screamed across the space station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Heavy blast doors slammed shut one by one, trapping teams behind them. But no one knew exactly what they were locking down. In the medbay, everything had gone quiet. Too quiet. The light being hovered just above the patient's chest, pulsing gently like it was breathing. Its shape was always changing. Sometimes it looked like a wing, sometimes like a face, but it had no clear form. The patient himself had collapsed again, unconscious, the swelling now completely open and glowing. The cocoon had vanished. Relia stood frozen, her hands trembling. "This is not just a medical case," she whispered. "This is a message." The red-badged doctor moved slowly, pointing his tranquilizer gun at the glowing being. What is it doing?" The beam turned toward him. Without touching him, it sent out a silent wave. The doctor dropped the gun. His legs buckled. He collapsed to the floor, shaking violently. His eyes rolled back. Foam gathered at the corners of his mouth. "Stop," Relia shouted. He wasn't attacking. The light being paused. It turned toward her now. But instead of attacking, it floated closer, and suddenly entered her body. There was no pain, only silence. And then, a voice inside her mind. "You understand," the voice said. "You see without fear. You heard me when I whispered." Relia's heart pounded. "Who are you?" she asked in her thoughts. "I was once a traveler," it said. "But I was broken, scattered, hunted. I found shelter inside the human. But I am not ready. They fear what they do not understand." "Why choose him?" she asked. "He touched my remains. His kindness allowed me to grow again. I chose you to protect me." The being left her body as softly as it entered. The red-badged doctor coughed on the floor. Relia rushed to him. He was alive, but weak. The door burst open. Armed security rushed in. "Freeze," one yelled. "Step away from the alien." "She's the alien," another shouted. Weapons pointed at Relia. "Wait," she said. "This isn't what you think." A blast of electricity hit her chest. Everything went black. When Relia woke up, her wrists were chained to a metal chair. The room was cold, empty, and smelled of old steel. One small light flickered above her. The station council sat in front of her, behind a clear glass wall. 3 humans, 1 artificial intelligence, and 1 alien from another species. They all looked angry. "You violated protocol," one council member said. "You used forbidden tech," said another. "And you endangered the station." Relia tried to speak, but her throat was dry. "I was trying to help the patient." "He is no longer a patient," the AI voice said coldly. "He is a host to a being we do not understand." "Exactly," Relia snapped. "You don't understand it." But it tried to talk. It tried to warn us. "It attacked a senior officer," one human said. "He fired first," Relia replied. They didn't respond. "We are ordering a full purge," said the alien counselor. "We will sedate the host and extract the entity. We will study it." "You'll kill them both," Relia said. "That is acceptable," the AI said. "Station safety overrides individual life." "Then you're making a mistake," she said. "This isn't a threat. It's evolving." The council stood. "You are suspended from all duties," said the human leader. "Security will escort you back to your quarters. Do not leave until called." They walked away. The lights went out. In her locked room, Relia stared out the window at the stars. Her hands shook. She didn't care about her job anymore. This was bigger. The being had reached out to her for a reason. And now, humans were about to cut it open like a lab animal. Her communicator beeped. A message flashed across the screen. It wasn't from the council. It wasn't from any station system. It was from the cocoon. "They are coming. I am not strong enough. If I die, others will follow. Worse ones." Relia's eyes widened. "What do you mean, worse ones?" The message blinked again. "They were not the first to find me. Others touched me. Others changed. But they were not kind." Then a final word appeared. "Help." The living organ. Inside her locked room, Relia couldn't sleep. The message kept repeating in her mind. "They are coming. I am not strong enough. If I die, others will follow. Worse ones." She sat in silence, her fingers wrapped tightly around the edges of her chair. The stars outside didn't blink. The space station, so large and cold, suddenly felt small and fragile, like a cage. She had to act. Relia opened her case and pulled out her last emergency tool, an Ilari pulse ring. It could unlock almost any human security door, but it only worked once. She slipped it on her finger. The hallway outside was dark and empty. Late-night security changed shifts slower than other departments. She moved quietly, like a shadow, down the corridors of steel and blinking lights. When she reached the medbay, She paused. 2 guards stood outside the sealed door. Both wore full suits and carried heavy plasma rifles. They weren't guarding the patient. They were guarding whatever he had become. Relia stepped forward calmly. "Stop," one guard said. "You're not authorized." "I have new orders," she lied, showing her Illyri badge. "Urgent medical evaluation. Council sent me." The second guard looked unsure. They didn't say anything about. Relia touched her pulse ring to his chest plate. It flashed once. He fell back like a puppet with cut strings, unconscious but unharmed. The first guard raised his weapon, but she kicked it aside and pressed the ring to his neck. Another flash. He dropped. She breathed hard, then turned to the medbay door. A warning flashed on the screen. "Contamination risk. Do not enter." She entered anyway. Inside, the room was completely changed. The walls had grown soft. The ceiling glowed faintly. Strange shapes moved across the floor like mist. It no longer felt like a medical room. It felt alive. In the center, the patient lay on a floating bed. But he was not the same. The swelling on his body had completely opened. In its place was something else, a pulsing organ made of light, wrapped in veins that didn't belong to any known species. It was beating. Not like a heart, more like a brain. Relia walked closer, her boots squishing against the strange surface. Her hand shook as she reached toward the glowing organ. The moment her fingers touched the edge, her mind exploded with light. Not pain. Memories. Flashes of planets, worlds with no names, dark skies lit by storms, alien cities built from bone and crystal, and one memory stronger than all. A great war. Not between species, but between ideas. The being she touched, it was once part of a greater whole, a hive of energy, knowledge, and life. Until it broke, until it was hunted. "You are not ready to see me," the voice returned in her mind. "But I must show you what I am." Images poured into her mind. She saw humans landing on a strange planet. She saw one of them touch a glowing surface. The being entered him, but not to hurt, only to hide, to survive. But others had touched it before. And not all were kind. Some became hungry, aggressive, twisted by the power. The being had learned to avoid them. But this human, he was different. He had felt mercy. And that emotion had changed everything. It allowed the being to stay gentle, to grow slower, to become something new. But now, the council was going to destroy it. Relia gasped and pulled her hand back. The patient opened his eyes. His voice was no longer human. It was deep, echoing, like wind through metal. "They are here," he said. "Who?" Relia whispered. Before he could answer, the medbay doors exploded open. Council soldiers in black armor rushed in, weapons drawn. They aimed at the patient. "Step back, alien," one yelled at Relia. "This is our last warning." "You don't understand," she shouted. "It's alive. It's learning. It's not a threat." "It's not human," the commander said coldly. Relia stepped in front of the patient. "Neither am I," she said. The soldiers fired. The blasts hit her square in the chest. But instead of falling, Relia stood tall. Her body began to glow. Not with fire, not with energy, but with the same light from the organ. The being had given her a piece of itself. And now she was changing too. The soldiers hesitated. Too late. The medbay floor cracked open. From deep inside the walls, more tendrils of glowing veins rose up like vines. They didn't attack. They formed a barrier between Relia, the patient, and the soldiers. And then the voice came again. "You are now my voice. If I die, your kind will never understand. But if we live, we will evolve together." Relia looked at her hands. They were no longer just Illyri. They were something new, something more. The choice to cut, the station had gone silent. No more alarms, no more orders, only whispers in the dark. Outside the medbay, soldiers stood frozen, unsure if they were facing a patient or a god. Inside, Relia stood between them and the glowing being that had taken root in the human body. Her hands shimmered softly, still marked by the light it had given her. Her voice was steady now. "I won't let you hurt him." The lead soldier stepped forward. His helmet glowed red. He raised a long metal case and placed it gently on the floor. "We don't want to kill you," he said. "But the council has made a decision. This is a bioextraction kit. Open the patient, remove the organ, bring it to the research core." "You want me to cut it out?" Relia said coldly. "You're a medic," he said. "Do your job. And if I don't, then we do it our way. He dies anyway." Relia looked at the human on the bed. His breathing was shallow now. The glowing organ on his side pulsed slower than before, dimmer. The being inside was weakening. Too much exposure. Too much fear. "They are afraid of me," the voice whispered in her head. "But I have never attacked. Only survived." She looked down at the surgical kit. Its cold tools gleamed in the medbay light. "You think I can just cut it out?" she asked. The soldier didn't answer. Relia turned toward the patient. She placed a hand on his chest. It was still warm, still human. But inside, something greater lived. "If I remove you, what happens to him?" she asked silently. "He will not survive," the voice replied. "We are one now. He gave me space to grow. He accepted me. My life feeds his, and his soul calms mine." Relia swallowed hard. This was not just science anymore. This was life. Bonded. Transformed. She picked up the scalpel. The soldier took a step closer. "You have 10 minutes. She stared at the blade in her hand. And suddenly, she had a vision. Not like before. This was different. Her mind flooded with possible futures. In one, she obeyed. She removed the organ. The patient died. The light vanished. The research team tore apart the remains. And within weeks, the sickness came. A sickness made of silence. Empty eyes. Souls fading. Humanity cracked. In another future, she refused. The station fell into panic. The being was hunted, cornered, killed. The last light lost. But in one final vision, she saw hope. She saw her own hands glowing, stronger than before. She saw humans and aliens side by side, sharing knowledge. She saw children born with light in their skin, not sick, not broken, evolved. But that future only came if she made the right choice. She dropped the scalpel. The soldier stepped forward. "What are you doing?" "I'm saving both of them," she said. His gun rose. "You've gone too far." Suddenly, the lights in the medbay exploded, but not from damage. The glowing organ on the patient's body burst into brilliant white. The being had heard her decision, and it responded. Tendrils of light wrapped gently around the patient's chest, forming a soft shell like armor. The human gasped, eyes opening wide, and he spoke in both voices, his own and the being's. "I am not sick. I am not broken. I am chosen." The ground beneath them shook, not from violence, from change. New life had begun to grow beneath the station floor. Lights flickered in patterns no one had programmed. The systems no longer obeyed the council. They obeyed the light. "You chose peace," the voice whispered in Relia's mind. "Now I will give you the truth." And in that moment, Relia saw the origin of the being. It was not a weapon, not a parasite. It was a seed, left behind by an ancient race, not to conquer, but to connect, to find those worthy of growing something new, something more than war, more than fear. And now it had chosen her. The new bond. The stars outside the station began to dim, not because the light had faded, but because something far greater had awakened. Deep inside the human patient's chest, the glowing organ now pulsed with power, not dangerous, not wild, but calm. steady, full of silent purpose, and beside him stood Relia, her hands glowing brighter than ever, her skin marked by symbols only ancient races could understand. She was no longer just Ilari. She was something more. And the station had noticed. Alarms failed. Locks melted. Artificial systems bent in quiet surrender. Somewhere, in the heart of the ship, the Council watched through failing cameras. One by one, screens turned black. The A's voice stuttered, then fell silent. "What is happening?" asked a human officer. No one could answer. In the medbay, Relia felt it first, a soft shift in the air, a whisper of wind, though there were no vents. Then, the patient opened his eyes again. But this time, he was not confused. He was awake. Fully awake. "I see it now," he said softly. "The stars are not cold. They are waiting." "Do you feel pain?" Relia asked. He smiled, slow and strange. "No, I feel connected to something bigger." She touched his hand. It pulsed once with energy. "We are ready," the voice whispered in her mind. "We are whole." But the moment of peace shattered as the medbay doors were forced open. Soldiers returned, this time wearing heavy battle armor, their eyes full of fear. Behind them, the council leader entered. He pointed a shaking finger at Relia. "This is an invasion," he shouted. "You've let it infect him. Now it spreads to you." "This is not an infection," Relia replied. "It's an invitation." "To what?" "Extinction." "No," she said calmly. "To evolution." The council leader stepped forward. "Stand down, or we open fire." The patient stood too. His voice carried a new weight, deeper than before. "If you harm her, you will harm yourselves." The soldiers hesitated. Their weapons began to overheat in their hands, glowing red without warning. The A's voice returned, softer than before. "Power systems are unresponsive. Because I am now part of this station," the being said through the patient's voice. "I do not want war. I want to belong." The council leader laughed nervously. "Belong? You're a threat." Relia stepped forward. "What you fear is not destruction," she said. "You fear change." "Change has never been safe," he growled. "Neither has fear," she replied. Behind her, the walls began to shift again. Light lines formed into shapes, words in multiple languages. The message was clear. "I have waited. I have hidden. But now, I choose to grow." Relia turned toward the council. "You wanted to cut it out, destroy it, control it. But what if we tried something else? What if we listened? And if we say no?" The council leader asked. "Then it leaves," the patient said, "and takes everything with it." A soft hum filled the station. Not a threat. A countdown. The being was ready to leave. But if it did, it would tear a hole through the station's core. Not to attack, but because its energy couldn't stay contained anymore. Relia walked to the center of the room and did something no one expected. She knelt, not in surrender, but in acceptance. "I will stay," she said. "I will be your voice, your bridge, your bond." The patient stepped beside her. "We are one," he said. "We are not many minds now. We are one truth." The council looked at each other. And slowly, one by one, they lowered their weapons. The station stopped shaking. The lights returned to normal. And the countdown faded. The being had been heard. For the first time in its long, hunted life, it was welcomed. 1 week later, the station's med bay had been transformed. Not into a lab, not into a temple, but into a garden. Soft vines of light curled around the walls. Small glowing spores floated like dust in the air. Healing pods hummed softly. Relia stood at the center, now wearing a new robe. Not military, not political. Something entirely new. A symbol of the bond. The patient stood beside her. His name was now known across systems, not as a host, not as a victim, But as the first human merged guardian and the being, it no longer hid. It had grown its voice, and the galaxy had started to listen.